Hi, it's Kylie Coo. If this is your first time here, welcome to my studio. If you're a returning visitor, welcome back. It's good to have you all here. So today I am going to continue work on my concertina accordion journal. I've still got last week's abstract page to connect. Now, I do have a playlist for all the pages in this journal, so I will link that playlist at the end and in the description box below. So today I am going to make, we've included a couple of little journals in here. So today I'm going to include what I'm going to call a secret journal. So it's a page that will also be a journal within a journal. So I've got my two pieces of old scrapbook paper that I'm using as a substrate. I'm going to be joining them in a different way today, but I am going to do a bit of collage on them to disguise it first of all. And I've got an idea as to how this journal will be put together. Hopefully that works. And an idea as to the way how it can be actually hidden within here. So let's get started. So to start, I have this gel printed page and I'm just going to glue those down this way. No, I'm not, because I want this, so I'll glue them down like this and then cut around them. And I'm just going to use some matte gel medium for that and just my usual little palette knife. So did you see my daffodils at the start? I don't usually cut the garden flowers to bring in, but those had got blown over with the wind and the rain, and it was just so sad to see them lying about in the garden. So we had a frost this morning, everything was frozen, but that said, the sun has come out today, and the first time in ages my studio actually feels nice and warm. To the extent, no long sleeves today, no big jumper, so that's nice. So just getting a good coat down on this. And then I'm simply going to flip it over. I can see roughly where the paint is on the other side. A great way to use up painted pages or indeed gel pages, gel printed pages. I'm going to push that down firmly because I want to make sure it's well secured. Any bit sticking up like that, I will just put a little bit underneath. And then I'm just going to give them a minute or two while I make a cup of coffee. I'll just give them a minute or two to dry. Okay, so it won't be fully dry yet because gel matte medium does take a little time. I managed to get it sticking to that. But all I'm going to do now is to tear down the edges. If I feel it's not tearing right because it's still dampish, then all I'll do is cut round it. No, that seems to be fine. So I'm just going to literally cut these two pieces out. So when I was tearing, it's torn a little bit of that down there and there. That's okay. I like the distressed effect. If you didn't want that to happen, you just need to let it dry longer. I could come back in now and add another layer, but in fact that will be disguised when I put the paint around the edges. I want to put another layer each side. I'm feeling very much drawn to these. This came off when I was using the stencil and inks, that just transferred down onto this drop sheet. I do like those. I'm swithering. The inside will be seen. I should say that this could be a little standalone journal if needs be, but I'm going to add it into my concertina journal, so it will open this way, or at least that's the plan. So I like these. I don't know whether to include them in their entirety or just a little bit, or whether to put them on the inside. I think I'm feeling that I want to have them on the outside, so I'm going to do a bit of collaging with that, but I'm not going to need these much thicker because I'll be putting pages inside this. Okay, I'm going to go with these virtually in their entirety, so all I'm going to do, I'm going to tear it first, so I'm just going to roughly mark it. A little plane going overhead. It's funny, I heard that last week as well. I left a lot of the outside sounds in it last week because I know that many of you like that. So you get to hear what I hear when I'm sitting here in my studio. So I'm now just going to, again, just tear these out. They could be cut with scissors. I just happen to like the effect that we get by tearing. So of course none of these pieces go to waste, these all go back into my scrap boxes. So I've got my two pieces here and I'm literally just going to use my gel matte medium again and stick these down. I really do like these. And I will add a little bit of gold to them, simply because that's what I've done with every other page, but I think I'm going to leave these largely as is because I like them so much. I know it maybe looks as if I've wasted this gel print, but that was simply there to add a bit of bulk, to bulk the pages up a bit, and just to make sure that the design that was underneath is totally covered. Obviously, if it had a design on it that I really loved, then I wouldn't be using it for this, but it's the sort of thing that I could kind of recreate if I really wanted to. Okay, I'll lay them down and then I just go over them to make sure that it's fully bonded. So sometimes I say I'm going to do one thing and then I change my mind, and that's just part of the creative process. I will in a moment be adding some sepia ink. I love sepia. This is indigo and I think the two go well together. I'm not going to make it too dark, but I do want to just darken that up a little bit, and I want to put some colour on the inside, and I think the sepia will work well on the inside. But before I do that, I'm going to decide which is my front page and which is my back, and then I'm going to join the two together before I put the ink on, and hopefully the reason for that will become clearer as we go along. So I'm thinking this is my front and this is my back. Not concerned now how it fits with the rest of the journal because we've already established it can look different if we want it to look different. I am going to trim along the top here with scissors because I want to have a nice join between the two. Otherwise it might not open as I want it to. And I think all I'm going to do is use a piece of masking tape to join these two pieces together. I'm still thinking about my next stage as to how I'm going to attach the journal, so I'm hoping, oops, this is old masking tape, it keeps doing this. So yeah, I'm just going to join these . No real gap in it as such. Okay, just going to cut this excess off here and actually just trim it down the edge a little bit because there was a bit of excess there as well. I think that should hold it okay. I need to put a bit more glue on there, that's fine. I'll do that first. Right, paintbrush. This might discolour in a few places because the paper's not treated, so it will likely be absorbed right in. But that's okay. I don't want too much. I'm just going to spread it round. Just gives it a kind of aged and distressed look. All I'm going to do is take these little bits of paper and just use that to pick up the excess. And you can see there what I mean by it's just kind of absorbing it in places. But that's absolutely fine. It's what I expected, so there is no issue with that. Turn it over, and I'm just going to do a little bit on this side. Don't want to use too much water because I do want it to dry quite quickly. Then just going to spread it out, and it will just pick up, darken up some of those lighter areas. Right, I'm going to leave that to dry a little while. And meantime, I'm going to work on the little journal that will go into the inside. I've got different thoughts about how to attach this. I had been going to make it that it opened right out, but yeah, I shall take a minute and give that some thought. Okay, so I think inside I'm going to make a journal that is 3 inches by 4.5. So I'm going to cut from this gel print a piece that is 9 by 6. So let's see. I want to try and get most of the pattern in. So I'm going to mark it 1 inch, which will take that edge off, and 7. Whoops. And 1 and 7. And we'll tear down there. And then I want this bit to be 9. Then I'm going to fold this, first of all this way. And then this way. And then this will fit into here. Now all I'm going to do is glue the long side to the long side. Actually, I could probably do that with glue stick, so I'm going to use glue stick and that will be drier. Okay, so fold long side to long side. We won't worry about any little white edge because we will disguise those. Just line it up as best as possible. Looks about right. Now at this point, I know that I'm going to be folding it, and I'm going to be sticking it down here. So I'm just going to look to see which bit I want to stick down, or more to be on show. Like that. Another way, of course, is just to flip it that way. I like it this way. I could, of course, glue both bits down so it opens completely like that, but I want this to act as a little cover on the journal in here. Let's see if I've got anything left in that ink-wise. I don't, but there. Just darken up those white bits. Not that they need to be. Get those edges darkened. Probably go round that with ink anyway, and then any bits on the inside. And now I will leave that to dry. That's getting stuck down, so that doesn't matter. I'm going to leave that to dry, and I'm going to have a look for some pages that will go in this mini journal. So I'm just going to use some more scraps for the pages inside. We know the rough size. It doesn't need to be that size. So long as it's no wider. So let's just tear a few pieces here. It doesn't even need to be a straight edge on them, but I will even it up a little bit. So I'm feeling this is more or less the right kind of size. So the page would open like so. We'll have this in here. I'm going to put that as close as possible to the top. And then the little journal, little scrappy journal. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So now all I need to do is I think I'm just going to sew them in. They could be stapled in. I'm just going to do, I think, a 2-hole, no, I'm going to do a 3-hole. I want it to be neat. I'll probably do a 2-hole and just have it, the knot in the middle rather than on the outside. Before I finish a little journal off, I am just going to darken this edge. There will be some paint going along it, but I'm just going to use this vintage sepia ink. Hopefully there's enough left in it. And just darken this edge. Might even just darken over this a bit. I wonder, a bit of decorative washi might look a bit nicer. Just using the first one I come to, I think this is a Tim Holtz. I'm just going to put a few layers on. It's just to disguise that masking tape. Ah, it's not going to stick. Right. Hopefully the glue stick will do it. That said, I'm quite liking the kind of distressed look of it, but we'll see. Yeah, is that going to stick? I could use the gel matte medium, but I'm really not inclined to just now. Okay, and what I'm going to do in the meantime, I'm going to get my gold stencil out, do a bit of stenciling, put gold around the edges, then I'll finish off the little journal. I'd been thinking previously that would be my back, that would be my front. Not that it matters how it goes with that one. Yeah, I'm sticking with that. This is the front, that's the back. And just a little bit of the Arteza Gold stencil brush. Where did I put my stencil? As before, not going to do too much on it. Quite like that big design. Won't show up too much because it's quite a light background. Bit on the other side. And that will do it. So all I'm going to do now is go around the edge with some glue, some paint. I think I'm going to do it with a sponge as I did last week because I don't want it to be too thick. I might even just use this paintbrush since I've got it to hand. So I want it to match the other pages, but I want this to dry quite quickly. That will also fill in that little gap, and hopefully if it's not too thick it will mean that it won't crack. This I think would make a lovely little standalone scrap journal, but of course I'm putting it into my accordion journal. But scope for different things. Right, I don't think you need to see the rest of that. So this is just about dry. That is sticking sufficiently, I think. I'll leave it there another few minutes. I'm going to sew the journal now, I had left that a little while I had some lunch. I am just going, while I've got my vintage sepia ink out, I'm just going to use this to go around the edges of this, although I'd use some sepia on it, but this will just darken up those edges, those little white bits where they're showing a little bit more. That bit doesn't matter because that'll be glued down. Just takes that plain white look away that can sometimes be a little bit distracting on the eye. A little bit on the inside as well. And I think I'm just going to go round the pages. I think all I'll do, put them all down that way, see if I can catch most of them in one go. And the other way. Doesn't matter if there's bits that's missed. Don't want too much on this bit. It's really just, again, just to grunge it up a little bit. Right, let's now get the pages into here. I've decided I'm just going to do 2 holes and tie it on the inside, I think. So I'll get a bit of thread. Okay, so I've got my little journal, got my papers roughly centred. I don't care if they run off a little bit, getting it as tight in there as possible. I've got a needle with some thread and I'm literally just going to poke right through. I'm going to straighten up this bit first. It's not quite. Just want that to sit neatly in there. So this is my thinnest piece, so I'm just going to poke right through. I try and come in a bit. So 2 holes, one about here, and one about here. Just want to catch all my papers. Okay. Take this through. And back through here. Could be held in place with a clip if you wanted. Just going to thicken it a little bit. Back through. There we go. Could do it a couple of times. I don't think I need to. Just leave a little bit of a tail there just to give enough to tie it off. Can't work out what I'm doing here. Let's cut it. Oh dear. Well, I didn't do that so well, did I? Not to worry, I can do it again. one more, and then I'll just cut that bit shorter, and I think I'm just going to leave them just now. What I'm now going to do is the gluing that's required, and I'm going to glue this piece down and onto here, roughly, so not quite in the centre there, but not far from it. So I'm going to glue this into here. I'm not going to put it right up at that bit, just ever so slightly down. And I think I'm going to use a faster drying glue, so I'm going to use this 3-in-1. So this is the back that I'm going to stick down, hopefully. I did thin this down with the, I shall remember the name in a minute. That Cindy advised me to do. Definitely working better, although it has kind of thickened up a little bit again. I'm not going to go right to the edges. I'll be using this in a minute, so I'm going to keep this here. Get rid of the strings. I think round about there. Acetone. Yeah, so acetone was what I'd glued it down with. So that will dry. Then this will open, and it can be used like a normal little journal, albeit it will open this way. I'm going to have to put a little something on there, but I'm not going to do it just now. So now we've got to think about how it attaches to the journal. And before I do that, I will attach last week's page, just in the same way that I've attached all the others. But I need to stop to think when I'm attaching this one. You can see that it's going to be a little bit thicker than those pages, but not too much. But I do want to try and come up with a way that this does not flap open and that it looks like the other pages. So, right, put that to the side, and we'll do this. Okay, so that's glued in place. Still a bit wet, but that's okay. So I now need to attach this. Now obviously I need to attach this in a way that it can open. So this week I'm going to, and this affects how I attach things next week, I'm going to glue in there and this will come down. But I want this to look the same, so I can either put a piece on here that's just a kind of faux piece, but I'd really like to be able to tie it so that this doesn't, as it's opening, pop up, and it would keep the bulk down just a little bit. I think I'm going to do that by cutting this piece in half. Well, there's a couple of ways I can do it. I might just bring a thread up through there and a thread up through here. It's either up through the actual cards on either side, or it's up through the join. And I think through the card would be the easiest. So I'm going to glue this down first. And I'll do this in the normal way. One piece here and one piece on the other side. So far, so good. So let's flip this over. It's getting a little bit more difficult at times to attach because just the weight of the book lifting the whole thing at once. There we go, that's fine. Now I'm going to give that a few minutes to dry, because what I don't want to do is pull this down and then accidentally the inside gets stuck to there. So you'll give it a minute or two, but just check that that's going to do what it needs to do, which it is. You can see that it's bulkier that way. I do need another piece on here for attaching next week's. I'll do that later though. Going to take a half, because when it's closed it will fit into that. Just a little bit more than half. Oh. Harder to tear when there's not a lot to grip. Just do that and free it. Okay, we shall give that a moment to dry, and I shall get my awl. I've actually tried it and I can do this with my needle. So I'm just going to poke a hole through here, line it up, poke a hole through here, which I had already done. Then all I'm going to do, I'll turn this over. Again, it's getting a wee bit difficult just because of the bulkiness of the book. I'm going to push this through here, and you'll see I've actually picked a thread that more or less matches. It doesn't match entirely, but it's close to the colour of the fabric that I'm using. Now, I think I'm just going to tie a simple knot just now, just a double knot type thing. I can tidy it up later. What I might even do is, what I should have done, I should have left gluing that bit down until I got this in place, but you know, sometimes it's just as you're working through these things that you suddenly realise a better way to do it. So that will go through like that. All I need to do is leave myself a piece that's long enough to tie in a kind of small bowl maybe. Let's kind of double it and see what that does, because it's always easier to shorten it after. Again, I'm going to put a knot in this piece. I'm going to bring this from underneath, from the inside of the cover. And there we have it. That will tie like so. I won't pull it too tight. I don't mind that hanging. And then next week, when I attach next week's page, I will do the same there. I don't want to tie it too tight just now, since everything's still a little bit wet. But I think that will disguise in very nicely. So and I am pretty happy with that. And when it comes to next week's, we will just do exactly the same binding on this side. Whatever the card is, we'll attach it from the back. Let's open it up. So we'll attach the back to the next page, bit of thread through the next page, piece of fabric there that makes it look like it joins, and a bit of thread, embroidery floss, whatever, to hold it there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I think it's quite a unique way to add a journal to a journal. So thanks ever so much for watching. Do take care. Bye for now.